when people say flame score, like, what are they talking about? Like, I've heard that term thrown around a lot. Like, oh, I got like a 140, 170.
Yeah. Do you wanna? I guess we can officially start now because I'm like, ready.
Go for
I'm
it,
in
yeah.
the yeah.
Oh,
Do you
I
wanna?
see, I
Do you wanna start?
wasn't
Do you
looking at
wanna
your screen.
start there, or we just want to make sure
No,
that's something
wherever
that
you want.
we...
It was just, my mind was
Yeah.
still on flames, but wherever you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
start.
No, I'll definitely get into that. But before we do, let's get a little bit of a general, just a little introduction of yourself. Like, what kind of player would you describe yourself as, and are there any specific goals, I guess, that you have in mind for this session and just in general for yourself in the game?
Well, I think like most people in Heroic, like, nostalgia got me, decided to check out the game again, started, last October. Just kind of been grinding. I'd say I'm pretty casual, like, I don't mind, like, grinding sessions, but, like, if I do, like, 3 reps a day, like, I would burn out and not enjoy this game. I'm a 17-star settler, so I'm pretty sure that's, like, holding me back a lot. I've been kind of going for more, I don't know what to call them, like guaranteed gains as opposed to like the random chance stuff.
So we'll probably see really good potentials compared to the Star Force.
No, my pods, like, most on my drop gear, I guess, like, that's kind of what I've been focusing the last like 2 months of saving on. And I've also been trying to make a few boss mules. I have a Shadower at 260, that was a hyper burn, and I wanted to level up an Ilium just for the cash shop sharing, but actually ended up really enjoying it, so I'm focusing a lot of time on that. But no, I mean, I'd say I'm pretty mid-game, maybe. I'd like to find out like what to prioritize to get myself to start doing like Theron, like the later game bosses, maybe. Find out ways to make more meso in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, those are just like some small goals. I also like have like a better understanding of like what like other things there are to do in the game, so that I can reframe my goals.
Sure.
Because I feel like I'm still pretty noob when it comes to like certain mechanics. Because like, for example, I started farming FAMs, like took a big hit on like my progression, like from 275. I've been farming in Limina. I'm at 277 now, so that took forever.
Okay.
And still no
you got 2
large,
levels in Limit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's still no large drop FAM.
Oof, yeah, that's rough. You have 3 ID, 2 large heal, and a 50. Yeah. Still chasing that. And when it comes to you as a gamer, like, are you more like social? Do you have like some buddies? Do you have a guild and alliance that you do things together with, or do you kind of pick random people every week, or do you play together with friends, or do you do more solo?
Yeah, I met some people in a guild. We do C10 weekly. And Black
Full
Mage
party
monthly.
or like partial party?
3-4 people.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your combat power at? Do you know that off the top of your head?
It's like 57 with an Ozring and 59 with stats.
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
so what if you is that the highest stuff that you party now is C10A?
Yeah, and Black Mage. Yeah, well, I guess that's
and Black Mage.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And how far are we into Black Mage?
Month 2.
Month 2. Okay. Month 2 is now completed this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
month 3 in 2 weeks. Or...
Yep. Yeah, that's coming up, yeah. Those months. When you think about it, it's like, oh, 8 months, it's going to take forever. But then once you're actually doing it, it kind of flies by. You're like, oh, 3's already coming up. Oh, 4 is already going to be halfway.
I feel like month 1 just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but so I'd also like to get, like, the quests have been pretty simple now, like Naked Magnus, Naked Von Leon, and but, like, I don't think I'm strong enough to do the harder quests, like Vihila.
What have you soloed so far? You doing Hard Lotus Hardamian?
Yeah, I solo those, but I don't really solo anything past that. Just mostly just because I haven't really had a reason to. Like, I'd rather just do them with my party. Like, at least if we die out, it's funny.
Yeah, for sure. Sadly for the game, the reason is sharing drops, right? That's the whole game is basically set around if you do everything with the greatest of ease, so the most people, the best synergy, the fastest runs, then it's also going to take you the longest possible time to get, right? So the easiest would be the most damage gear on and the most people in the run, right? Then it would take you the longest in terms of the runs themselves would be the fastest, but the amount of weeks or months you'd have to do something to realistically get the upgrade would be the very longest. And the further you move away from that optimal speed position, the faster you actually make that progress, because you'll, even though the runs themselves will go to maximum length, the value per run will maximize, or the value per week will increase. Same thing when you're like killing monsters, right? Like in the beginning, you're trying to kill as many monsters as possible, but then at a certain point, you just can't kill more monsters, like you hit your cap. So then what we do is, with all the, we take a little bit of the excess damage we have, we take that away, and we give ourselves more drop rate and more meso obtain, so that we can get more even more value per time when we've already capped on the amount of monsters, until we cap that as well, and then you hit that new cap. Then the new cap becomes doing it so many hours that you run out of coupons, and then you start digging into that, you know. So there's always the mechanics basically exist. If you take like a step back, all those mechanics exist to make sure that the base level, because the game is really built like this. The game wants you to feel like every single upgrade you make is a significant enough upgrade for you to want to make it. But also, when you have everything upgraded, that it still takes you a decent amount of time to get done with the game. They don't want you to like be full 22 everything in like a month or something, right? Yeah. So the only way that they can make every single jump be significant, but also the end result still be, you know, reasonable, that means that your base position has to be garbage, basically. So when you're just starting off with absolutely nothing, no Legion, it's horribly slow. But yeah, that's because they want to, that adds more value to all the upgrades you make. So in the same way, now that you're like looking for those clears and those bosses, and they start getting easier and easier, sadly, if you keep playing with the same gang together, you can get those easy runs, but everyone is going to be artificially slowed down basically by having the shared drops. And that's the point. And you might get to that point sooner or later. You get to that point where you start thinking like, do we split up parties? Do we take some mules with us who can maybe blue dot, give them chance to for arcane boxes, right? Get those funded that way. Then you don't have to deal as much with Absolab. You can maybe get those characters into doing maybe like duoing Hard Lotus or Hard Damien together there, right? Maybe get some extra ring boxes there. Maybe with the ring box, then you can solo those bosses to try to find a little bit like path of least resistance, and also leverage your position of your main character within your guild or within your bossing party to give you access to other things, so you can make it easier for other characters where you want to. You know, you don't have to, of course, but it opens up options in terms of upgrade paths for other characters where you can make big skips, you know, big jumps, and don't have to buy all your arcane gear, for example, just by starting to do that, while also facilitating each other in allowing each other to like duo instead of trio or quattro. And then if you're doing duo instead of 4, yeah, the runs are slower, but now you have twice the odds, you know, if something drops, that the drop is yours. And then maybe, you know, if one party hits both of the drops and the other party doesn't, you can swap out a member, and now both of the people who don't have the drop have have like both 100% chance again to hit it, you know? So that way you can help each other out, and that'll happen in the future. And then whenever you start doing that, that's usually the step where the next boss comes up, where you still need everyone together, you know? Then like Hard Saren and Easy Kalos come up and stuff, and then you need to group all together again. And as soon as you're thinking about, okay, let's split up for Hard Saren because this is too easy, we want to have more chances of the emblem, at that point, that Easy Kalos party is probably moving into normal Kalos. And then you need, like, you know, all your brain power together again and all of your damage together again. But then Easy Kaling comes in, and then, you know, then Eternal stuff starts coming. So there is that natural progression of, as soon as you start feeling like, oh, this is, you know, this party is getting too easy for this one boss, it sucks a little bit because it feels like you have to like abandon each other for a boss. But, you know, you're gonna probably have a new boss coming in, so that time is gonna get filled up regardless. Plus, you can still stay together with that, you know, that composition of like splitting it up with semi-mules, side characters. You know, Hyper Burns are gonna come up. You're gonna have level 260 characters that it feels weird to have them barely in CRA with no Absolab. So maybe get some arcane on them is gonna make them feel a little bit like their gear and their level are matching a bit more, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so solo you have you tried like hard or Lucid Hard Will? Or that's probably bridge too far?
No, I mean every now and then, like if I have event buffs or like some buffs running, I'll be like, let me go into practice mode, and yeah, like they seem doable. But like again, I just find it more enjoyable to do it with the party. Like,
Yeah,
just
it's
like
quite long
the
run
talk,
probably
the
as well.
talking, the yeah.
Yeah, because I'm always trying to see, like, you know, you want it to be fun, and I like doing bosses with party as well, even if I don't really need them, because it's just you get to hang out with cool people once at least, and it's usually only like once or twice a week. So if you start cutting into that, you'd never see each other again, and you kind of like lose contact. That's also not great. So yeah, I'm always trying to find a way, like, you know, whether it doesn't really matter what character they're on, right? And if they were to quote unquote get carried a little bit and you were doing the carrying a little bit more, the plus side is now you get to spend even more time with them because the runs will be longer, right? So there's that as a little bit of an upside. But yeah, that's totally up to you, of course, like whether you want to split up, how much you value the splitting up and the progression. But just know that for your party, that's going to be the natural progression. For everyone's probably going to have that feeling at a certain point, and if you get drops at a regular interval, nobody's really going to get that feeling. But as soon as you don't get drops for a long time, people are going to be like, yeah, I thought I'd have that drop by now, and now it's feeling like we're actively, you know, fighting against each other or holding each other back by not going for it, you know?
Yeah, we could have had like 4 separate roles if we soloed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then each joins with like 3 other characters, so it's not quite 1/4 of the duration because everyone else is joining on another character as well. But then you get to run, but then you have to deal with the scale there is that you're running, and the runs are all longer, and you're running 4 times as many. So then, you know, scheduling or you just do 2 runs, you do duos first to see how that goes, and if everyone's good with that, maybe you split it up further. Yeah. But yeah, some people will want that, some people won't want that. But if you're all on the same page, like, just make sure that you communicate about that, you know, if you have that feeling, or just to check if anyone else is thinking about that, just to know where everyone's head is at with that, you know, because nobody wants to be the one to break up the party or to change the dynamic, especially if it's going well. But you also don't want to be the one who holds someone else back when they kind of want to do another thing, you know. So yeah, that's the thing I try to warn people for. Yeah, because you don't want it. You want it to stay fun, and you don't want it to be a thing where people are like, "Oh fuck, I gotta go, get a drop again. Wow, no drop again. Or there's a drop, it's not for me." You know, that can feel pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot, but now we know where you're at in the game. So Black Mage is progressing, and then has there been any attempt for Saren and?
No, I haven't even touched those buses.
Where's your symbols at? Yeah, because you got 300, and normal Saren and hard Saren phase 2 is 200 for 100% damage. So at 250, you're doing max damage there.
Oh,
so yeah, and easy Kalos is at the same requirements when it comes to sacred power. So I don't know if the other guys are like around, or girls, I don't know, but other people are around the same level, around the same sacred power as well, same kind of combat power that you guys would consider giving that a try?
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely strong enough. Just no one's ever brought it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you guys could give it a try because you already started like Black Mage. Definitely those boss fights, and definitely like normal Kalos. It gets a lot easier once you have like the Jenny iframe, of course. But that's why I almost think it's a good idea to kind of like suffer through those fights without one, so that you can get really good. And then once you get the Jenny iframe, then you'll be able to use it like in the right spots perfectly, because you'll know like, oh, this is like a certain death situation. But then, you know, you'll know, and then you can get to really, it's almost like retirement. Like you get to really enjoy those 10 seconds of freedom once you do get it, of not having to worry about all of the stuff going on. Plus, you know, Adele visibility can be pretty shit at times. So if you, instead of just dying or taking strings, you just pop that skill instead, and you know for the next 10 seconds you're just gonna have to worry about nothing. I think that's a little bit of a tilt-proof thing as well. But yeah, I would consider those. Yeah, and I mean, best case scenario. Well, there's no bad case scenario, I think. But you know, either you learn that you guys need more practice at that, or you learn you need more people with that, or you learn that you're not ready at all yet, and you try again a month later or something, right? But I think, I mean, with that much SAC, and if everyone's on the same page, you know, maybe you grab like a 5th person, maybe someone else in the guild is also looking, and you can just, you know, drag them along and learn it together. Get a new homie for the synergy for the party, maybe. I don't know. What's the party composition? I guess is it a set party?
We have a bishop, 2 Adeles, and Night Lord.
Oh, perfect party. Yeah, you don't need anything else. That's done. You can basically find anyone to join that. I guess that's a full 3 minute. And it does got a good solid burst. So that does mean that once everyone is cracked out of their skulls, you'd be able to just single piece nuke with your slow DPM in normal Kalos, maybe even.
Mm. Yeah, I don't even know what those bosses do.
Well, it's basically easy Kalos if you have the damage, and you'll probably get there much faster than you think. It's just not even a boss fight. Like P1, you just kind of like nuke out of it, wait for your burst to come back. And then for P2, you just one person does like a full burst with everything. And then everyone else just kind of like DPMs. And then you go right into the test. You play the test where basically there's just like 5 positions where you have to stand in a little dome for safety. Very similar to like Arcarium, like the AoE skill, right? Like you just look for a little dome, you stand in it, wait for the area, go back to the middle, look for the next dome, stand in it, go back to the middle. You just do those 5. It's like 5 positions, and all of the ones show up once. So once you know which ones have showed up, you know which ones are left as well. So you get there pretty quickly. But that boss fight is so fast that you don't have to engage with any of the. There's like machines that can activate, and they can show like shoot like lasers and arrows and all that stuff. But Easy is going to be so fast that none of those machines get to go up, because while he's bound or in test, the timer on those machines and everything doesn't run. So it just they all get paused. And then basically just every time it comes back up, then the next person nukes, and then you just burst out of that again, and you just keep, you just go from test to test to test to test, basically, if you're strong enough, which, like I said, might already be or will be soon. And then that's just it. And you're starting to get a chance for the rocks, right, to improve your rank 4 rings to rank 5. It's a really low drop rate, of course, at the easy bosses. But you get more ring boxes. You get the white ring boxes. Those are good odds, right, for getting some roar 4, weapon jump 4. Mm-hmm. You have the roar 4 and the continuous?
No, that's not a roar 4. That's
the
what is it?
HM
the crisis, is it?
Crisis.
Yeah, I kept it because the Discord said it was good for Culvert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a. For Culvert, yeah. Yeah, you'd have to set up. You have to like double set up, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, like with your decent skills, just bring yourself to low HP and then swap to like Haunt or.
Yeah, and then slow progress towards Eternal, and then once you get to once easy is just really like too brain dead easy, you can also just try to go into normal with the party. For normal, you have to have a little bit more of a strategy, and then you'll have to work on practicing the cleansing and all of that stuff as well of the machines. But you can make that move, once all the brain power is there. Let me check because I think 300 is not that far off. For normal, I just put it on all the grid because it's like, it's 330 for full damage on. Oh no, that's culling. Sorry. Yeah, it's 300 for full damage on normal. So like up to 350, you'd be doing max damage. But 300 is already pretty good. So you're already, once I guess your hotel is the next one that levels. Once that one levels, you can already get bonus damage on that one. Yeah,
I've been prioritizing my mobbing right now just because I hate having to be 30 sack over an area to one shot. So I used to have like a bunch of the Horntail drops, Zakum, and I switched those over to like Pink Bean, Twilight Mark, and last I'm working on replacing the Treasure Hunter with the Slime Ring.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, to have a higher base damage on those things, set bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when it comes to your general base damage will go up as well as you make improvements on the quote-unquote hybrid gear, right? Like the stuff that's both mobbing and bossing now. Once that stuff gets stronger, then the total damage you need to keep killing in the area is going to go down quite a bit as well. And because your CRA is at 21, and everything else is pretty much
17, and I think the belt is at 20.
Belt is at 20, yeah. Yeah, because Star Forcing... Well, we got a 5, 10, 15 coming up in a week and a day.
Yeah, but I have no money.
Exactly. So the follow-up question would be like, what's your income looking like on a weekly basis and how much you have now? So you're pretty much zeroed out now, or what?
Yeah, I got like around 800 mil left. I have 2 mules. That one of them does CRA, one of them does up to Enlomian. So that's like an extra like 2 bill, 2 point something. Then on my main, I get around 2 bill as well, so like 4 bill a week. Plus any grinding that I do. And that's very like mood dependent, so it's not
mood
consistent income.
Okay. Yeah, so that's still... When you're venturing into those bigger projects, the lower your income is, the more risk every event will bring with it, right? The more chance that you don't actually hit the upgrade that you're looking for, the more chance that you just you get like a neutral. Once you pass a certain amount of income, I would say that's at least like around 10 bill a week, you can keep guaranteeing that every time an event comes around, and if you play on events, that you'll at least make some upgrade, and that you'll be able to always see the results. But well, the way you can see it, like if there's like a 1 in a million chance to do something and you try once every week, there's a chance you go your entire life without ever seeing it, right? But if you can increase the amount and you can do it like 1,000 times a year instead, then there's a chance that in those 1,000 there's like one that hits. There's like 1 in 1,000 every single time, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of what you're going for. Is you're going for like just a mass number approach, like as many backups as you can, as much money as you can, and then you'll just have the chance of nothing going right. You want that one to basically be as close to eliminated. So that's what the goal is. And the reason is because just the more events you have in a row where you don't make any progress, it's just very demoralizing. It's very easy for people to burn out and feel like all of their time is wasted.
Yeah, I think that's why I've been prioritizing like more guaranteed gains, like over like getting my heart broken. Because I don't think I've had a horrible event yet. Like I think my first Shining Star Force, I got my CRAs to 21, like pretty, like in, I don't know, like reasonable amount of mesos. And then the second one, I just went for a ping belt, went to 21. I was like, okay, cool.
Okay,
and then,
nice.
Yeah, so like now whenever I have money, I'm just like, do I want to save for an event, or do I want to like start making mules to earn more money for future events? But for example, like my Ilium, I was really enjoying it. I really wanted to get that attack speed +1 innate ability. It cost me like 7 bill. Yeah, I was like, oh, so like that was unlucky. But I kind of like unlucky moments because it's like you can only have so many unlucky moments. I feel like then maybe it's coping, but you're guaranteed like a lucky moment.
Yeah, you need it's a little bit of gambler's fallacy, right? It's like, oh, I'm down 18 bill, so that means the next thing has to go. That's like gambler's fallacy, right? But there is, of course, the concept of averages, and if you are way above average on something, even though the odds don't change, the odds that you're going to be unlucky again, even though they're the same, they're kind of not, because if you look on the aggregate, you shouldn't be able to ever be always unlucky on everything. It just doesn't work like that. So that's why it's also important when people are like, oh, look, I made this in 1 bill. It's always like, okay, but like, what's your unluckiest item, you know? And then be like, because some people only remember their horrible losses, and then they're always negative about everything. Even if they get really lucky, it's like, oh, whatever. Okay, I guess I got super lucky here, but I'm still down. And then some people are the other way around. Like, they forget all of the horrible costs, and then they remember all of the big wins. Both of those are probably not healthy. That's why I typically don't really keep track of exactly how much everything costs, because I know it'll even out at the end anyway, so I don't need to keep tabs, really. I did at some point keep track of how much all my projects were, because for me, a lot of people would come into the stream and be like, oh, did you do any upgrades, how'd it go? And then I could just, show them the little file, and then they'll see what upgrades I tried and how much it costs and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very much up or down, like I think my Arcane Glove from 19 to 21 on my DA, I remember that one was like 75 bill for the 2 stars.
Oh my god.
And then, which is horrible, it's like way, way above average. And then when it came time to 21 to 22, my Arcanes, all 4 of them went in 1 tap and not a single fail. So it's like, and that's like the example I remember, but it's really that extreme. It's really that much the one end, like, blowing up 4 gloves and just going down horribly bad. And then the next event is just like you send it all for free, and then but everyone in stream is always they don't know that first event, they only see that second one because you're not going to make a clip about how much you're failing, so you make the highlight video about how much you're succeeding in a row, and then it's like, oh, streamer luck, and yeah. So you get like a skewed result there, of course, for the viewers. So what I mentioned. So we want money and we want backups. For backups, we want drop rate. For money, we want Meso Obtain and we want playtime, possibly bossing mules. To which extent, or if you don't want that, longer grinding sessions. But you already mentioned you're not much of those, so a little bit more into bossing mules for you is probably going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, so
right?
we have a person in our party who has like a pretty juiced main, and he usually like gives us advice on our gear, and he tells me like, yeah, don't focus on like pots and flames right now, just Star Force, Star Force, Star Force.
Okay. So far, I like this person.
I don't know if you agree. Yeah, I don't. You agree with that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a Star Force. It's really like in the beginning, you're just playing like Legion story for a bit, then you're playing drop rate story, and then you're playing Star Force story. And the only reason you can play Star Force story is because you've been playing drop rate story because you need the backups. And the only reason like the backups and having the drop rate works is because you want to get your damage from your account, from your Legion and your links, essentially. So once you get that foundation and damage that way, and your utility from your Legion and your links, then you can hard focus on getting your drop rate and your Meso Obtain, so that you can get more value out of your time, right? And the power creep comes from the character itself, from the 6 job, from all that. And then once you have hopefully that Legion that links grows a little bit with the event, can turn into some bossing mules, can turn to income. But people who just want to grind on the main, they can do that with a drop in Meso gear and then get great gains from that, including drop rate fams and that kind of stuff that falls under the drop rate category. And if you don't like to do that, you do a little bit more bossing mules, basically just whatever you feel like your income wants to come from. And then when an event comes around, you look at, okay, that's when I would use the calculators, and I would look at, okay, what's the average cost here? Because you went for the CRA and you went for the belt, but was that on advice of someone else, or did you look at calculators for that as well?
Yeah, I didn't know calculators existed until this session. I just advice.
Yeah, just before.
Like they decided, oh yeah, you can get like infinite spares for CRE, basically, like no, like
so that's
very
step
low
one,
risk.
right? Exactly, like no risk because you have the backup. So again, the risk of you making absolutely no gains is so low that that's where you want to push first. And then because even if you do boom like 14, it's like whatever. I've got 100 more. Like give me your best, right? But that's why we look for the average. So if you look at Star Forcing, it's he rebranded to Math Guy. He used to be Suck Hard for the longest time. I'm glad he finally listened and changed his name on here. And he made some good calculators that are very useful. So some of this, we technically don't know any of these numbers. These are all unofficial numbers, but these are inferred numbers from the Korean numbers that are public, but our numbers are just, it's all guessing based on past outcomes and stuff. But this is what So I don't really actively use these, but if I were to look based on my strategy here, I'll never be far off because I've just kind of like intuited most of it at this point. But there's some character differences, and especially once you know that these projects are becoming like more than just 10 bill, but it's going to be like 50 to 100, then I always, it's a good idea to then double check the calculator to be like, am I right? Because you could be off by an order of magnitude, right? If we looked at that flame score of mine, the fact that it's worth like 140 trill is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then if you take 2 of the lines away, which means the flame is still really good, it probably goes down to like 20 bill. It's like it could shift like it'd be like, oh, that's his, 1 extra line is like, oh, that's 700 times more expensive. Like, okay, it's a bit jank. So when it comes to Star Forcing, so this calculator you could put in the item level. So let's do CRA, for example, right? Normal or Tyrant, we don't use... well, this should technically be Superior, I guess, but then some people get confused by Superior Gollux and Superior Gear. What's Superior for... Gollux is just the name, and for Tyrant is the prefix, right? You got Elite Elysium, Nova, and Tyrant Gear, but those are all just not meta. They're good mule gear, though, right? Like the cape is great for mules. Star catching is do you have like an enhancement room with your guild?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you can always turn this on, and then you keep it unticked, and then you upgrade in there, right? And you get the bonus. So safeguarding, so if you have a lot of backups, you're basically planning on a lot of booms, and you get value from the booms. And by not safeguarding, you save more money not safeguarding than you waste booming, and therefore not safeguarding is the way to go, basically.
How many spares would you recommend to have, like, to determine whether or not to safeguard? Like Arcanes, for example.
I would say that depends on what average booms the project gives you. So you can calculate it like this and then switch it and then kind of see the difference, and then based on that. But so if you're safeguarding, and it can also depend on the event. So that's one thing you want to look at. What's up, Scott? We are looking at the calculator right now. So let's say, we can make this an arcane example, so we can immediately use it for something useful. So let's say for 17, you want to go to 19, for example, right? So here, this is going to be based on KMS always, right? KMS, GMS, JMS, that's just our base numbers. So, well, we'll get to my conclusion, but basically my conclusion is 30% off is great for up to 15, or for high star force if you're not safeguarding, right? Because there the booms come in and then save you a lot of money. And then 5 to 15 is good for past 15, and also for high star force if you are safeguarding, essentially. That's when you'll see it'll save you the most money. But you can always make these simulations yourself and see the numbers, and just determine for yourself that based on the different numbers, whether it's worth for you to wait or not. So if you were, say, we go 17 to 19, so I would do that under a 5, 10, 15, but we can check the other numbers as well. You can say median is 2.8. So like I said, if you're just doing one item, I think looking at the median is fine. But as soon as you do more than one item, I will look at the average just to have a buffer, just because of, standard deviation and because of outliers and that kind of stuff, right? So
that's not too expensive.
No, it's not too bad. But you can look at, the outlier here. Someone spent 44 bill, but yeah, the odds for that is really, really low. So like 95% of people will be done within 13.6. And then your personal risk aversion comes in here. So some people will say like, oh, I have 3 bill, I'm going to do it. Some people say, oh, if I don't have 5, I'm not going to try it. Some people say I need 6 at least, But if you're doing a bunch and you're adding them together and you multiply and you round up a little bit, I think that's usually fine. Like, oh, I'm going to do 4 items. They're 4 point something together, so 16, 17, 18. If I have like 20 bill, I should be fine, right? And then 1 or 2 items will go under 2 bill, and then another one will cost 8, right? And that's just how it's going to go. But don't underestimate these numbers either, because like 95% chance feels like it's impossible, but that's 1 in 20 people. And how many thousands of people Star Force every event, right? So this happens to dozens and dozens of people. So yeah, don't feel super unlucky because you hit this one time, because you're probably also going to hit this one time. So it'll even out at the end. But you see the amount of booms, like unluckiest person's at 10, but the average booms is under 1. So that's why you will see also like going past 17 is actually pretty safe, in terms of all the other things you could be doing. And we can check and we can turn it through 30% off instead. And you'll see that the cost goes up only by a little bit. But you see the booms here is at 1.3 because we took off safeguard, right? So, but for arcanes, you're probably going to safeguard. So now you see that cost go up quite a lot. But then for 5, 10, 15, it doesn't go up nearly as much. So it's still, and then average booms here is 0.32, right? Because it goes way down. And then for shining, you can just tap both of those and then see the number. So this also helps you look at your weekly income, look at how many weeks until the next event. Is it worth for me saving? Like, am I gonna print a lot of extra money by just spending my money later, or could I just use it now and get a similar result and then just make my money back and then try again later, something like that. But the lower your income is, better typically it is to wait longer for the ideal event and spend it during the ideal event. Once you have more money. You start calculating in like how much time does it actually take me to spend all my money, like 30% off. It actually takes you longer to spend your money because the rolls are cheaper, right? So then you might want to spend more during 5, 10, 15 instead, because then you go through your money faster. That's when you have to start looking at like, do I spend 6 hours upgrading or 8 hours upgrading on that day? That's a problem for later. But this is basically how you can check it for every single update. And you can say like if you go 150, if you go 21 to 22, not safeguarding on your CRA, right? You can see the median is very low because there's a lot of people who get there. You see 63 people get there without a boom. So you can also see it's about a 63% chance, right, that your item goes. But you're doing 3 items, so there's a really high chance that at least one of them booms and has to go all the way down. So that also helps you set your mental in terms of where you're at. But then you see, like, 49 people boomed once, 43 people boomed twice. There's also, once you boom once, there's a really good chance you boom like a couple of times, like up to 13 or something. It's still pretty common. So there's going to be one if you're going for 22 CRA eventually, there's going to be one that booms like 20 times. It's just unavoidable. And then one of them will go instantly, and one will get boom like once or twice, pretty much. That's like kind of how it goes. So you could check the difference with Safeguard. It's just quite a bit more expensive, and you see the distribution is different, but the cost is quite a bit more. So you're basically buying Mezzo with your backups, essentially, right? So if we could have 100 arcane backups, then we wouldn't be safeguarding arcanes either, because then mathematically it would just make more sense to not safeguard. So when it comes to the amount, that's kind of up to you. From my personal experience, for my weapon, for example, like if I have a 17-star weapon, if I have like 3 or 4 backups, I feel very confident just try to tap it to 19. But the money has to be there, and it has to make sense for your account, right? You don't want to tap, you don't want to spend just because you can, because if that's your benchmark, then you're always broke, and then you're always tapping. You want to be tapping to make a significant difference, and to make one that makes sense relative to your other possibilities. And that's where the calculator comes in, because you can look at, how much does it cost to min-max my potential. Well, if it's potential on an item that you're going to be transfer hammering over, it makes no sense to go hard, because it's going to be re-rolled anyway, so then you want to settle. But if it's a potential for an item that you're going to be tracing and then keep on refreshing, then it makes sense to go into it, specifically if it's a high quality potential, right? So the weapon, secondary, and emblem, and then probably the glove, and then for some classes the cooldown reduction hat, because that can have a lot of implications in terms of damage for the character. That's basically the ones. But yeah, you can look at all that. You could be like, oh, hat, I want to have a hat with... and here you can check as well, like, do I use glowing or bright cubes, right? Because glowing cubes, you have way more rolls, but you have lower chance of double primes. Bright cubes, the opposite, plus the chance of keeping your previous roll. So let's say you have a, we have a CRA hat, and we were trying to get, 2-second or 3-second cooldown reduction or something, whatever. So with glowing, that's like 12 bill, but with bright, should be less. Yeah, so like under 9, right? And you can see the percentiles, the number of cubes. Number of cubes is better to look at if there's like a sale, right? Because then you don't have to calculate the discount. You can just look at the amount of cubes. It's a little bit cheap, a little bit easier. And you can also see like, well, what if I roll 2 seconds and a line of stat? Like, I was trying to go for 3 second, but I actually got 2 seconds and 2 line stat. Is that better? And then you can look at the calculation and be like, oh, that's actually,
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, that's actually better, quote unquote. Or if you had 4 second, you'd be like, oh, that's 36 bill. Or, oh, that's like way more. That's cool. But then 4 seconds and 1 line stat, that seems like, oh, that's only a little bit better. But on the average cost, that's like 6x the value suddenly, right? Because you have 2 primes that are already locked in, and then you have to hit the exact line. Same thing with like gloves, for example, right? A lot of people, if you quote unquote just see gloves with 2 line critical damage, like that's not a crazy cost. That's really good to go for that reason. It's something that people go for pretty early. But then some people be like, oh, okay, everything else is 2.5 line. I'll go for 2 line critical damage with a line of stat. Like how much extra could that be? It's like, well, it's an extra 45 bill just for that 1 line of stat, versus spreading that 45 bill over the rest of your account. You could probably get a similar gain, you could probably get better gain of the same amount of stat if you just spread that over more equips, right? Over more flames, over more potentials, over a Star Force here and there. And what you can technically reduce everything to get to that point is the flame score. So the flame score is basically a system that we put in place to take all of the green numbers, just all of the flame numbers on an item, and redirect them into one score. Because flames come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, there's different tiers of stats that are rolling that are all compounding together to give you a certain amount of damage increase. but it doesn't make much sense to try to dissect the flame and be like, okay, like I could do that with the flame that I have, right? I could look at the flame of my eye here, for example, and I could tell you, okay, that's a tier, it's most likely a tier 6, well, I guess plus 11 at level 160. I actually don't know. It's plus 11 at Arcane. Let me do an Arcane. I can do that one better, okay. But this looks like... Yeah, so this looks like a tier 6 strength, a tier 5 all stat, and then a tier 5 strength plus dex, and a tier 4 int plus luck. That's the roll. Those are the 4 lines that the item has. But that's like way too convoluted at trying to piece that together on all the items. So what we do instead is we just look at, depending on where you are in the game, you have access to a certain amount of damage realistically. No one is going to have exactly that amount, but everyone is going to be hovering around that amount. So what you basically have, if you were to put everything in a giant calculator for your account, you could get what's called stat equivalency. So that's here, stat equivalences. 1% all stat is going to be worth a certain amount of main stat. Like if you add 1% all stat or you add 12% main stat, your damage is going to go up by the same amount. That's what that means, right? And the same thing for stat versus attack. And so this is what I would love to see in your stat window instead of whatever the hell this gray blob of goo is, right? I would love to see stat equivalences in there. Like for you, for this character right now, right? But the added value of a flame score is, or comes in with like the progression grid that I made, where you have like goals for your flame score and where you can put in future stat equivalences instead. Because it's really cool to know which flame is better for you right now, but it's even cooler to know once I level like 20 more level or 10 more levels and all of my gear upgrades like 5 more stars, are those flames still going to be better for me than what I have now? So if you put in more future stat equivalences and you aim for future flame scores, you can also future-proof your item to make sure that every time you make a big upgrade, you don't have to redo your flames. Because as you can imagine, if you were to redo a bunch of your potentials, now comparatively your all stat value is going to go down because it's additive, right, with all of your all stats. So the individual value of all stat is going to go down and of stat is going to go up. But then, once you redo all your flames and you get a bunch more flat stat, now it's going to correct again. So but you can't really know how much is that going to be exactly. So that's why I made the progression grid where it's all based on how much are you going to realistically have access to, and where would you want your stuff to be upgraded to roughly. So that's why the flame scores are here, and they're separated between the weapon, because we already saw, right, when you look at my weapon flame score, that could be all over the place. So most likely you're looking for tier 6 on the weapon. So there I do go into the tiers, but that's specifically because the tier of the weapon attack or the magic attack is so much more important. Plus, the tiers are a percentage of the base of the weapon. So for every single weapon type, the numbers are different. So if you put one number there, it's going to be a very wide distribution. You've probably seen like smagas of like a Genesis Claw that has like less than half the attack of like a Genesis Staff, for example, right? So that number is going to be way too wide, and it's not going to be a good predictor of how good you want your flame to be. So that's why I've distributed into this, and then the pluses basically signify damage, percentage damage, boss damage, or all stat, because you're never going to get all 3, except for that weapon. Or a tier 7 with like a little bit. And then because you're looking at the stage of the game, that takes into account what type of items you have access to, and also how long you're going to keep them, and as a result, how hard you want to push on them. Because you can imagine, like for Abzo, you could get pretty decent flame scores, but we don't need them to be that high because we're going to move into Arcane pretty quickly. Yeah. So we kind of settle there, and then once we hit Arcanes, we go super hard because we hold those for a very long time until we switch into Eternals. And then once we hold Eternals, we go even harder because we don't even have the full set yet. So those we're going to hold on to like forever. I could probably increase this number even. But all of this redirects back to the calculators, to like how much is that roughly going to cost for that amount of stat gain. And then those are internally connected with how much is the potential going to be, how much is the Star Force going to be. And basically, if you throw all of that into a flame score calculator, not perfectly, but if you throw that into a flame score calculator, so the calculator I have here, where you can also here calculate. But we have our own little calculator. It's a little bit simpler. You can say like, oh, I'm a main strength class. If you put any kind of upgrade, like also the Star Force, also the potential, also the flames, and you put them in here, you could see that roughly meant meso per flame score, that was roughly linear. Or if you would order them, it would make sense, basically. Or it would be this ascending, because the amount of meso per flame score would go up as you go, right? Every upgrade would become more and more. So if you want to know for your weapon, for example, what kind of flame you have, just to do like a quick example, where is your
I could have organized better.
Yeah, it's okay, we'll find it. It's like a glove, right? Where is that glove?
Up top.
Oh, here.
There it is.
Yeah, so you see the base is 295 and a 142. I already know that's a tier 6 because it's just under half. And if it was over half, then it would be tier 7. That's the easy one for 200. But you can put it in here just in case. So 200 plus item. Was it 295? Did I put that in? Yeah. And you can immediately see here tier 6. You can click calculate and it'll tell you... oh, you're 142, I think? And then it'll tell you tier 6, but you can already see the number here. So you already know as well, if you look at the progression grid, like, oh, what am I aiming for? Okay, I'm going into late game, so I want a big tier 6 or I want a tier 7. Okay, so how much attack do I want? Okay, a 142 or 182. That's the only two numbers you're looking for. If you hit 142 or 182, then you look at the rest of the flame. If you don't at least hit these two, you just keep flaming, essentially. But if your character is, you know, if you're getting your first arcane or you're getting an Abzo, the number will be different. And then you'll be like, oh, tier 5 plus is also good. You look at the tier 5 number. So if you hit 5 and some stuff, or you just keep rolling until a 6, and as soon as you see a 6, you're good, and you move on to the next thing. That kind of idea. The other two is items with flame advantage. That's basically everything except for Sweetwater and Gollux, basically. And Sweetwater and Gollux falls under the non-advantage. You've probably looked at your flames already a little bit for those items and seen, wow, these are garbage.
Yeah.
Why am I getting almost no green numbers? So that's because there's variance not only in the tiers. So the tiers that I was talking about before, right? The 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Powerfuls roll between 3 and 6. Eternals roll between 4 and 7. And flame advantage items get always 4 lines. And items without flame advantage get between 1 and 4 lines. And they also roll 1 tier lower on all of the flames. So between 2 and 5 on powerful. And between 3 and 6 on Eternal. Yeah. Or is it even 2 lower? It might even be 2 lower. I don't know the exact numbers. But basically, what you have to remember is the outcomes for them are on average trash. So you really have to look at the flame advantage first, right? Weapon first. Top priority, right? That's why the weapon is first here. Then you look at the flame advantage items. And as soon as they're like around these numbers, then you start looking for the items without flame advantage. And again, it's just value per flame score, essentially. It just comes back down to it. And if you put it into a calculator, like which ones do I want to flame first? Yeah, you could do it with these flame scores, right? You can also save them if you want to for your account, and then all of the flame scores will be there. And then you can very clearly see like, okay, well, my CRA pants, for example, have 90, and my hat has 102, and it comes down to flaming CRAs, like the next thing. Well, then the 90 is the one I'm going to flame first, because 1, if I fuck it up, you lose the least damage. And 2, you have the biggest room to gain. That means value per money spent there is higher. That's what it'll come down to. Does that all make sense? That's like the foundation of like, where does my money go? Helping you also get a peek behind the curtain, I guess, on why would someone else tell you work on Star Force. If you would put it into the calculators, you'll just see, because of the sheer amount of weapon attack plus stat that you get per star, the amount of money you would have to throw into flames or into potentials is just ginormous.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense.
Okay. So, flowing from this, or, well, what I like to usually do is kind of like double check all the other stuff, like all the other systems and everything in the game to make sure that's on point, and then circle back to the equips for like specific advice. Did you have other questions? Because we went over the flame thing. That's all clear now? I also have a video on that if you just
Yeah.
want to listen to it
No,
again
no,
on
it's
your own
pretty
time.
clear.
But
And
should
I think
be
you helped me. You helped me kind of like give me a system to identify like where to make the most gains, which is something that I haven't been doing.
Yeah, you're getting it to a point where just if your income is still pretty limited, you need to. Well, you don't need to, but if you don't have a specific plan like that to set up, like I said, you're gonna have those. You're gonna have more and more events where you make 0 gains or God forbid even losses, and then it's gonna be really hard to keep motivated to keep playing because other players around you who do have a better plan, they're gonna maybe have the same resources as you or even less, but they're gonna make more progress, and that's gonna feel really unfair. And I've seen plenty of people. What happens a lot with people is like, oh, I have 17s, okay, now I'm going for 22s, and then they get their first 22 and they get addicted, and then because they're going about it the wrong way or inefficient way, I would say, they end up with like by the time they get their second 22, their friend has like 9 21s already, and they're just way stronger with the same amount of money spent, and that's a future I want to prevent a lot of people from going into because it just feels worse not getting the same bang for your buck, essentially. Okay, so were there any other topics I could talk with you about or clarify a little bit more, maybe similar to Flames, or in that way where you heard about it but you're just not sure what people mean when they're talking about it or what kind of thought process is behind it, maybe?
No, I think I'm pretty good with like Flames.
Yeah, I don't mean Flames itself, but like another topic or something you hear about or you don't know if it's relevant, maybe something you're not doing yet, you're not sure if you should be doing it.
I guess Commercy, like I haven't even touched that. Like I don't know if that's something I should be dedicating time to or not.
Yeah, so I usually don't deal in shoulds. I think the only should I deal in is you should enjoy yourself, right? I think you should do what allows you to have the most fun. Commercy is a tough one. You'll see some people say you definitely have to do it. That's like probably 1% of people, and then everyone else, then 98% of people probably saying you shouldn't do it, or it's a waste of time. I'm probably that 1% that's like, well, it depends on the situation. I like Commercy as a tool for guaranteed upgrades, over time, and also they're kind of like shadow backups for pitched. So what I mean by that is getting backups in general past like for Daybreak and beyond just takes a while. And in that while, if you're doing Commercy dailies, you can get dineros, which will mean that you can always exchange those for backups. So if you haven't done anything, basically you've got a boat, you take items with you, you do a voyage, you get money back for the items that you traded, basically. And then with every run, you get a little bit of energy for your boat. You use energy on the boat gains experience, and then at level 10, the boat can level up to the next one. And then again, level 10, you can upgrade to the last boat. The upgrades cost money, and going to different voyages to send more goods also costs a little bit of the currency of the... Sorry, when I say money, I mean the dinero, so that's the currency there that everything goes by. If you're going for like a short-term approach, it's fine to just keep your level 1 boat, or not level 1, but like your rank 1 boat, I should say, and just do very short voyages, get some dineros, and then get the items, and then basically just upgrade them. You can safeguard them up to 17, but they're level 160, so they're decent, but because they go past 15, they get a lot of weapon attack as well, and they're usually pretty good for like dropgate and meso gear like that. The monocle, so it's basically accessories, so it's usually just the eye, the face, and the pendant that we look at for that. The eye kind of lost its value because the black beam mark is, it's easier to get now. People get to that very quickly. You can get a lot of backups easily. And the level 160 stuff does not have flame advantage, right? It's the Sweetwater stuff that I mentioned before. So the flames are going to be worse. And they don't have set bonus either. So because the set bonus and because of the easier flames on the black beam mark, it basically overpowers the item. So much so that it's not worth getting it because you'd have to get it to like 22 before it gets better, which is... You go very inefficient there and star forcing very quickly. It used to have a position because of transposing. You've probably heard about that.
It's legacy content, right?
So it's kind of. So it still exists as a system, but your transposing is not going to be as good now as it used to be. So old transposed, like legacy transposed items have better flames on them because the flame used to copy over, which means they can actually compete or in some situation even be better than some pitch stuff by itself, which means that you might use them as secondary items. For example, a really good flame transposed legacy pendant might actually be better than a daybreak, even with the daybreak and ring set bonus, for example. But right now, if you do it, it's probably not worth the effort because it'll eventually get overpowered. But I like it for for the eye and the pendant, I'm not a huge fan anymore. I'm still a huge fan for the tattoo though, because the tattoo, again, like level 160, does have set bonus. Basically, you're only competing with the Twilight Mark, and then with the Berserk. You have a Berserk, so you are probably in a good position to not need that either. But a lot of people take a long time to get a Berserk, and what having any kind of backup for a slot will allow you is to mitigate the risk of the upgrade, right? So if you get your first Twilight, and you can get it to 17, right? Everyone can do that. But if you already have a 17 tattoo, you get the Twilight to 17. Now, maybe in the same event, you can say like, okay, I have some dineros and I have a tattoo. I'm going to see if I can walk the tattoo up to 19. If it goes, now you can get your Twilight up to 19. If your Twilight booms, at least you went up 2 stars on the tattoo and you gained a bunch more weapon attack, right? Next time, you get a Twilight mark. Now you can immediately try to Twilight to 19 before it's worth switching. Maybe the second one goes to 19. Now you can get your tattoo back up to 21. If tattoo goes up to 21, now you can take the Twilight to 22 or 21, depend on your risk version and your risk profile there, right? The Twilight doesn't go? Okay, well now you gain 2 stars on the tattoo again, right? And your dineros and your backups will allow you to set higher standards for your other items. Or maybe you go 21 on the Twilight mark and you're like, this is good enough for me. Now you have 2 very strong pieces. Now one can become a very strong drop rate or meso piece, and the other one can become a damage piece. And now if you get a Berserk, now you don't have to worry, do I settle for a 17 Berserk? Do I settle for a 19 Berserk? Now if you get a Berserk, you're like, I'm going to go 22 or nothing on this because I already have a 21 Twilight mark. So now I don't have to worry about, potentialing multiple times or star forcing up multiple times or needing multiple Berserk drops before I can commit to the Berserk, right? So maybe not in themselves, they can't already always have the position of where you want them to be, but they can... they can kind of postpone certain problems. So, yeah, that's kind of why I think they're still useful. For the pendant, there is a use case. There's a argument to be made for transposing, even because the final result, even like a Twilight, or the Sweetwater pendant transposed 21 stars, is still probably going to be overtaken by the Daybreak pendant, right? Because of the set bonus. It does allow you to just need one Dominator, transpose, and then all your other Dominators you get, you can keep for backups for burning into Superior, and then later for Superior into Source. So you can start saving Dominators earlier. And I think that's a pretty valuable thing as well, because you're not going to lose, Flame Advantage and set bonus, on the Dominator. But it's a 160 versus a 140, so you're gaining quite a bit of stat there. For the Eye in the Face, that's closer because you'd need a Papulatus mark to transpose, and that's just way more rare even than a Dominator. So that they kind of occupy different spaces in that regard. So yeah, there's definitely like a character where I'd be like, I'm going to transpose the pendant for this character because I know where I'm going to end up. I'm not going to be messing with Daybreaks, and I'm not going to be messing with Sources. So if that's not what I'm going to do, my best pendants are going to be a Superior and a Sweetwater. So I'm going to aim for a transpose Sweetwater, and that'll be the set that character has. Now, this other character, they're definitely going to be doing Vihilla, and then Saren also drops Daybreaks, by the way. So I'm going to eventually go that as a second pendant. So I'm not going to go into the transposing with the pendant at all. I'm just going to go into tattoo with this character. And then, this other character actually got a Pap Mark very early, and I'm probably not going to mess with eye patches. So for this guy, I'm actually going to do transpose monocle and actually get that one high. So it can also depend on which position the character wants to have, and if you even hit a drop or not,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options there. Hopefully that's, it gives a little bit more insight into the nuance. And so I think there's, in general, for a lot of situations, it's probably not worth that much, because also a lot of people don't like the content. So it's also very easy and satisfactory for people to hear, oh, it's bad, so you don't have to worry about it. And people will be like, oh, goddamn, I can drop it. Thank God, because I hate it, right? And again, yeah, if people don't go that route, eventually they can end up there. But like I said in the beginning, it's kind of like that 17 to 22 tapping early. If you have on the back end something that you can walk up to mitigate the losses when you fail, then still, even if you fail, you didn't fail that hard, and you can still get some gains out of it, essentially. So yeah, possibly. And
Yeah,
typically
like
people who are
everything in
more...
this game is...
Yeah, I advise it more for people who play more casually and who just progress more slowly. I think Sweetwater has way more value than people who have like a bunch of hookups. Maybe it's their second or third character, right? They're getting a bunch of carries. Because the people that are getting carries by usually don't need the drops anymore. They can pick up drops faster that way. Or those people have more drop rate, right? So they'll get into drops faster, and then that facilitates skipping the content way more easily pretty much without any downside. But if you're doing it more, the organic struggle way and more slowly, then it'll get more and more value. This guy have cracked FAMs? Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of people with cracked FAMs. No, this guy has normal FAMs for once.
Below. I think the only thing that I have cracked is my shoes.
Yeah, the flame, right?
Yeah. And I think I got double prime.
Oh yeah, there was a few potentials I saw that kind of got cut off with the stacking. Yeah, I don't know the third line, but I was going to assume the third line was nothing, but third line is also
let me just drag that down.
Oh yeah, that's very nice then, yeah. Yeah, 110 and 6 is definitely... Well, then you can look, right? 110 and 6, you've got Dex is like 3 to 1, so this is like a 114 and 6, so like a 174. So if you look here, flame score advantage, early, late, right? We're looking at level 200, that's this number, towards here. It's like in between, so probably something like 145 or something, and you're at 174, so you're like higher on what like introductory Eternal Flames would probably be. So that's also a way for you to know, like, okay, this is definitely really good, and I don't have to touch this at all, Helps in prioritizing.
Yeah.
And your emblem was 2-line attack, 1-line strength? Yeah, or all set. Yeah, that's very common. That's another thing where you're like, when do I go for 3-line there? That's a very common question. And that has to do, of course, with how quickly you're going into Saren, because Saren can drop the Saren emblem, and then that's a really nice one to get into, because you don't need to Star Force it. You can immediately just pot it, and it's always a linear upgrade. You're not losing any set bonus, right, from the existing one. And it helps with setting up the pitch set, so... That's something with your situation that I'm thinking about a little bit, is like the Berserk. The sooner you lock into that, and it's a nice flame. You got 60, 121, 18, so like a 139-ish. So that's already like towards the later stages of the late game, I would say, in terms of the flame. That the sooner you lock into that 17, though, you have a lot of chance that you're going to have to lose that again on the way up.
Yeah.
Because 17 Berserk is really nice, but like a 19 Twilight might already be stronger just because of the existing power of just of Star Force. But again, you're gonna, instead of a tattoo and a Berserk, you got the Berserk. Instead of a tattoo and a Twilight, you got the Berserk earlier. So now you're gonna treat the Berserk as your Twilight and the Twilight as your tattoo. So they'll just switch positions. But like, if you get a Twilight, you're probably just gonna try to tap it up to 21, and then it'll be way faster, way stronger than this. And then you can try to Star Force this one. If it booms, you gain 4 stars, and you got a stronger piece. And now, even though you don't have longer have Berserk, it kind of sucks. But if it wasn't meant to be, at least you got an upgrade out of it. And that's why the splitting of the parties comes into play, because then, you don't have the same, all the dogs fighting over the Twilight Mark, or the bone, or the proverbial bone in this case. And you'll have more chances for Twilight Marks, then you have more backups, then you can realistically go for a higher Star Force faster, etc., etc. Just speeds up the whole thing.
In terms of Star Forcing, I think my current plan is, focus on getting the belt to 21, getting the earrings to 21, since those I have a lot of spares of. But then after that, I don't really know what my priorities are going to be.
Okay, how's the Gollux coins looking?
I think it's on the spares and symbols tab.
Yeah, maybe
the first tab.
Tab keeps popping up. 2.3. Okay, that's very nice. So that means the rings, slime. Yeah. Yeah, because general stuff is like, okay, everything 17, cool. CR rate of 19, cool. Then CR rate of 21, cool. Then 21 fodder into 20 star superior. If you have backups into 21, if you don't stay in 20, kind of that idea, right? Then the side items that you have more of. So for some characters like Star Force Shield, that's an easy high backup up to 20. Black Beam Mark, typically get a decent amount of backups up to 20. So you want to do like normal. I do like normal ping bean every day, with as much drop rate as you can, just to get as many black beam marks as possible, just so that you can realistically tap that one up to 20. And then like, you know, kind of treasure rings, that kind of stuff. That's usually like the next ones that will also like engage up to 21. If you have a lot of drops, it might be even before the superior it might hit. If not, it's just after. Typically, if you like your first 21 item that you can use as itself, you always want to use as itself first. And if it's also fodder, then you want to use the second one to get to 21 to fodder, right? Because you're gonna lose that star on there. So it's better to have a 21 kind of treasure and a 17 superior than a 20 superior and a 17 kind of treasure. So the first one you keep, the second one goes in. If you can make Meister rings, right, then you can take a little bit of pressure off of the kind of treasure rings and might make it a little bit faster. But you're doing pretty well here in the items. Since you have the you have the Papulatus mark, you have two options. You could say, I'm gonna do Commercy, because if you had a 20-star Black Beam mark already right now, then that door is pretty much closed. You know, it's gonna be too expensive. But since you have a Papulatus mark, you could say, there's like three options. One, that's cool window dressing. I'm just gonna 20 Black Beam mark and then just gonna keep it in my inventory, whatever. Two is I'm gonna just try to tap the Papulatus mark. If it goes to 21, for example, then I can just get rid of all my Black Beam marks, or, you know, turn one into, maybe get one to 19 or something, turn that one into a decently strong drop in Meso piece, and then just use the Papulatus mark. Or option three is Papulatus mark to 16, do Commercy, transpose it into the monocle, Sweetwater monocle, and then with backups, walk the Sweetwater monocle eventually up to 21 or 22, and then it'll be pretty close to being like an eye patch. Maybe get it up to 21. I think I like 21 a lot. It's in terms of the efficiency, is very high up there, and that means that when you do get an eye patch, then you can just do basically 22 or nothing. Whereas, you know, if you have a Black Bean mark and you get a eye patch, then technically 19 is already an upgrade. And then with the set bonus as well, that's coming in then, right? If you have other drops. And then they can feel a little bit riskier for going above 19. Whereas if it's a transpose like 21, I feel like you could be very, or even like 21 would then be like the bare minimum that you can feel like you can go for before upgrading. But those are kind of, yeah, those are all options. I think most people will tell you just try to tap the Pap mark if it doesn't go 20 a Black Beam mark. And then you don't have to deal with all the Commercy stuff.
Yeah.
Because you could get a eye patch next week, or you could get one in a year. That's kind of the problem. So, yeah, personally, I feel a lot for...
Down, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Personally, I feel a lot for getting it to 16 and transposing it, just for that security of the backups.
Why do you...
Yeah.
So I don't really know what transposing is. Why do you do that at 16?
Basically, it imprints some of the stats of the item onto the product, but you lose a star similar to transfer hammering. But so it allows you to both imprint the stats of the star that you lose, plus take the benefit of the fact that your resulting item is higher Star Force and higher level, and therefore gains more stat and weapon attack from the Star Force. So basically, they mathed out at every star, if you transpose there, what is the total outcome of stats, and the highest is just when you do it at 16 at the base, where it drops back down to 15, and then gets all the post 15 stars as the level 160 item. The second highest, I think, is if you do it at 22 and transpose down to 21 and then tap it back up to 22. That's like just a little bit lower. That's like the second highest. But then you'd have to take all the risk on the source item, which is of course not advisable on a Papulatus mark.
Yeah.
So transposing is basically you get the dineros, you buy the item you want to transpose into, and then every single attempt for transposing costs you 10 dineros, and you could try it up to 10 times a day. So you can spend up to 100 a day trying, and it's like, I think it's like 2% chance of working or something. So it'll take a while to work as well. So it's a high investment cost in the beginning. And the backups are also like 250, I think, dineros each. And in the beginning, the amount of dineros you make is not that high, but if you go for the approach of building out the boat first, what happens is the highest level boat has more energy, so you can do more voyages, and you can take more items with you per voyage as well. So if you do it for long enough time, it's like slow in the beginning, especially because it's also costs dineros to upgrade the boat, so you won't see like any results for a while, but then once you get to the higher level boat, you can just do the quickest voyages. It'll take you like 7 minutes a day to do your dailies, like super fast, and you make like almost 50 dineros a day. And then you're just printing backups essentially. So I would strongly consider that. But I'd probably still make like a 19 Black Bee mark just to have like 19 or 20, up to you, because you have the amount of backups that you do. And then you can make a decently strong drop or mezzo piece that, well, I guess this one is already legendary.
Yeah,
and the ones you're using is unique, right? Yeah.
I think I have hybrid on that one.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that'll be a prime candidate for,
the mobbing tablet, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha, yeah. Oh, no, the Twilight Mark is double drop.
Oh, gotcha.
And the ring. Oh, yeah, there's some other hybrids here, though. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, I have like 2 double drops and a few hybrids.
Yeah. So you got your full 10 and 0 and your 5 and 10 set?
Yeah, and I'm just trying to replace the Treasure Hunter's ring with the Slime ring to get double set. Triple 4-sec Dawn. Or what's that set called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dawn, Daybreak, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. Like this really just started because I wasn't one-shotting in Shangri-La.
Yeah.
I was like, well, let me just focus on getting my mobbing gear stronger. So that's been my main focus for
that's
the
a
past
good base.
month and a half.
I mean, honestly, what's going to have even more impact, of course, is if you get your arcanes up to 19 or something, right? That's like a lot of attack that's waiting to go down there. And then...
before I started, I didn't have any arcane spares, and then like these past weeks, I've just gotten lucky with boxes. Now I have like 2 of 3 boots, 2 gloves, 2 capes, and 1 shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like guaranteed full 19 essentially. But that's expensive.
Yeah.
Still, it's affordable, but it's expensive. So unless you get your weekly money up, these upgrades are still going to be risky for you. Not on the backup part, but on the mezzo part. There's going to still lie the high chance of spending whatever you have and not getting anywhere with it. So if you're not doing the grinding and that's just not for you, then you do want to go the bossing mule route in terms of, funding it with, look at your fee matrix, but I'm guessing it's pretty built out.
Yeah, I got everything maxed out pretty much, like minus decent skills.
So are you finding bossing mules now that you're willing to go into and play regularly?
Oh, and they just have not been cost efficient. Like, I think the Shadower cost me like 7 bill, and I can barely do Enlomian. The Ilium does CRA, and that one's got like 11 bill invested into it.
So when you're investing, because mezzo is kind of like your bottleneck now, right? So
yeah.
I like you to always invest mostly in where you can get like the best price efficiency, which is not just the overall thing again of like mezzo per gain, but is more gain per resource. So I want you to look also more broadly at as like time as a resource, for example, right? Like doing symbol dailies, doing symbol weeklies, or nodes as a resource, for example. Or if you're going to spend money in the beginning, I really only just want to see like 2 good lines on WSE, and everything else can be epic for all I care. There's some base like funding for bossing mules. I don't know if you've already heard these, but I would say so like WSE weapon, maybe even a little bit less because you don't know if you have like Abzo yet and going there yet. So maybe like a unique weapon is probably fine. But like I would get legendary on the emblem and the secondary, and try to get just 2 useful lines and then get out. I would go, if you're still doing familiar stuff, try to get 2 15% ID familiars on both of them, right? And unlock the second set and get that ID for free, because that's going to be good value. I look for Reinforced Golic set, because that comes online pretty quickly, and that's extra 30 boss and 15 IED set bonus. And then I'd look for guild skills access. So try to leverage your position again, like in the guild as a main. See if you guys have access to Mule guild. If you don't, start making one, because you all have mules, right? You want to throw them all together. Do some cover, then some flag, and get some G skills in there, because those things combined are insane value for how little of an investment that could be. And then look towards what your account has a lot of. So if you have a lot of time, work on symbols. If you have a lot of work on symbols. If you have a lot of nodes, work on the matrix a bit more. And again, position with your main. See if maybe you can do some exchange on like Hard Lotus and Hard Damien runs to get your Abzos faster. Hard Lucid, Hard Will runs to maybe get some arcanes here and there. And like slowly walk it up, and try not to force it in the beginning. Because you can definitely like brute force and throw a lot of money at it. But then again, yeah, if you get unlucky, it'll just take you months and maybe even up to a year before you get that money back. Whereas like just unlocking... so like just doing simple dailies and weeklies, maybe doing Monster Park just for some levels and getting the character up to like 215 to 220. Everything like HMAG and below should be just super easy, just because of access to 5th job and the 4 5th job skills and a little bit of boost nodes in there.
Yeah.
And if you do that
I didn't
regularly...
realize how much easier.
Sorry, go for it.
I didn't realize how much easier they made leveling. Like compared to like when I first started. Like I'm just doing dailies on my alts, and like they're already about like 215, 220, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. And you get those like EXP vouchers, right? And you get like growth potions. Maybe even you can start looking at what's your entire legion at?
All the way at the end.
Yeah, it's over 8, so you can also start using that at characters like over 200 to try to get your level 3 links if you don't need them, or even at level 210s to try to just walk them up to 215, right? To try to get a little bit more money out of those.
I have a spare slot that I'm saving for the Dreamer Hyperburn. Gonna
do
a beast
that'll
tamer.
be a lot of money coming in as well, right?
Yeah.
But as you get those boss mules rolling more, the characters will generate more value than just their crystals, and also like the backups for CRA and that kind of stuff. But they'll also start generating way more. You probably don't need with the size Legion, you don't really like potential scrolls and stamps and stuff like that anymore. But the amount of cubes they get will start accumulating, and that will just fund the next character more and more, so that less money has to come out of your bank, out of your Adele bank, but can just come in items. And then ideally the character funds itself within its account with surplus nodes, a little bit of extra time invested, from dailies and Monster Park and that kind of stuff, and surplus cubes. And the actual money that goes into it at a certain point, like past number 5 or 6, is probably 0. It's going to be minimal. It's just going to be like secondary and emblem, and it's pretty much it. And then they can start, earning their money, their money back way fast. But I don't know if you have any other characters in mind to do some more bosses on. The DS is pretty solid. But I don't know if you've...
Yeah, that one but I just kind of gave up on that one. But Ilium does up to CRA, Marksman does up to CRA. Right now I'm working on a Dawn Warrior. I think it's at 215 now compared to the screenshot.
Yeah, it's a solid one for sure.
Yeah, I'm really just trying to do all of the Nova characters. I mean, Flora characters, just for the cash shop.
That's also... yeah, sure. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could even make doubles as well, right? If you want to. You've got a big Legion, so you've got probably access, I guess, at this point to like all of the links in the Legion that you kind of want, right? So you could also, if you have slots available, you could make like 3 extra Adele boss mules. Like, that character inside and out, and you can play it efficiently, right? So you can get very quickly to, if you have like a Terra Burn, you could get very quickly to it being able to be a boss mule in like at least 3-door, 4-door, take an HMAG, a catchy CPAP, and like start making that money. That's I'm not saying, a lot of people, I'm not advising it, but like a lot of people don't even think of that as a possibility.
I honestly never considered it until you mentioned it.
Yeah. Because if you like playing the character, you should like logging into it as well, and, and actually playing it and bossing with it. Plus, because of your hand stat, you're amplifying the investment into it as well immediately, right? Because you know exactly how to play the character.
Yeah, like
Plus,
usually takes me a few weeks to like get like Shadower. Like I was like, this class is garbage at first, but then once I got like the hang of weaving and all that, it's like, oh damn, this is like way stronger than my Adele.
they're good. Yeah, they're DPM wise, they're good. So if you're doing like a bunch of bosses in a row, you don't really have to wait for cooldowns. You can just keep ripping into them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't unlocked Origin on it though. I can't. It's so boring.
It's slow process. Yeah. What I did was doing the symbol, the sacred symbol Cernium is dailies for a bit.
Oh, do those count towards the?
Well, not the chunk that you get, but the EXP you get while you're killing the monsters at least counts. So maybe like a 15-minute coupon here and there, and then just finish out the coupon during a daily, and then yeah. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, my fire poison. I did just the dailies, and then Monster Park, and then symbol dailies, like arcane symbol dailies, until I got the Monster Parker completed, and around the same time I got all of my symbols completed, and I got level 7 or 8, I think, in Cernium because of event shops as well. But by that time I was already level 263 and a half, and it was.
Oh damn.
And I started just with doing Monster Parker as well on that character at level 210 when the Hyperburst started. So within the period of doing Monster Parker, I got just from dailies from level 210 to 263.
Yeah, and a lot of people also got lucky with the Abyss exploration. Like nobody knew that would count towards the Origin.
Yeah, I did it on like a battle mage for some reason because I was like, ugh, I don't want to level this character. And now that one is like 230. I went from 210 to 236 or something. Like in hindsight, I probably should have done it on my Mercedes or my mechanic. You know, it would be better Legion progress there. But yeah. Alright, Kachin below, ignoring CPAP and Princess Nose, easy 850. I feel like CPAP is, especially now that they made it easier, is pretty close to Akechi, honestly. I would always include that. That's almost a bill. But yeah, I would ignore Pino, definitely. It's just not time efficient, because Pino on one character is the same amount of value as doing Crimson Queen on another character, and that's just always going to be way faster.
Oh, unless you need like the secondary or ATs.
Yeah, unless you need the secondaries or the rings, but that's like a luxury problem for a bossing mule, though, I think. Well, once you hit a reflective ring, you can always go do it.
Would you mind pulling up like one of your bossing mules and like the lower end one, see like what their gear looks like?
Lower end is
like 220, like I don't know. I really don't know what like they look like. There's something achievable without too much investment.
Yeah, my lowest one, so my rank 12 character on my account is now 338, I think. 337, 338, and they're basically going into 30k stat. So what I started with was legendary WSE, 2 good lines, so like attack and boss on a weapon, attack and boss on the secondary, attack and IED on the emblem, something like that.
Yeah.
2 IED fams. I knew that I was going to go Lotus and Damien or maybe higher, so I skipped Reinforced and went straight for Superior Gollux, which just makes it take longer to take effect, but when it does, it's more efficient, right? 215% IED fams. And then basically potential-wise, I just filled all the slots with boss accessory stuff and got it all to like 9% stat on it.
Yeah.
Let's see what I'm missing.
And then just CRA and Absolab.
I completely skipped Absolab, but I went CRA and then Tyrant Cape, and then initially I went for Necro gear, so the Hilla gear. When it came to the glove and the shoe, and then I would just from normal Cygnus open up those tickets until I opened something with a really good flame on it, and then once I did, I got the Muspel pieces, the 230 pieces, and then Transfer Hammer the Star Force over, and the Potential over. And then I eventually just Star Forced it up to 17. And then with the cubes, by that time, like re-roll the potential to unique for Sharp Eyes and stat. But that's probably not necessary anymore because of the Matrix increase since then. So you can easily get your decent Sharp Eyes in there. So you can just roll purely for stat. And And the rest is just boss accessory stuff, like 9%. CRA as well, just 9%, but like okay flames. So because a lot of it is boss accessory, it does have flame advantage. So try to get okay flames on everything, like 45-ish flame score or something. Because all of those little things do add up together to quite a bit. And many of them still had potential badges, so that helped as well. But even with the set bonus from the... yeah, with the shoulder as well. So for the shoulder, I also went like boss accessory. And then later, if you do switch into Abzo, then you don't need to worry about the shoulder, the glove, the cape, the shoe at all. But I think Abzo up is fine to go to, and I would advise it. I hate those weeklies, so I do everything I can to avoid doing them. So I'm fine with that setup that I had. And then basically from there, I decided whether I want to go for High Star Force Abzo, or I want to go for Arcanes, one of the two.
What's the determining factor of that?
Where I want the character to be eventually, like what I want the character to be able to do, and whether I have already, like through carries or stuff, already gotten some Arcanes, and I probably will just do that instead. And if I don't have any yet, I'll probably do Abzo. For Abzo, you'll just need to gather backups, you know, the fodder for a little bit longer. But general rule of thumb is if where you want the character to be will require, or eventually where it's going to go is going to be, the Arcane is going to go over 19, then I'd just go straight Arcane and basically skip the Abzo. If it's going to be, you know, equivalent needed is like between 17 and 19 Arcane, then I'll just go 20 Abzo. Maybe 21, but I prefer 20 Abzo just because it's faster, cheaper, and stronger. It'll just save you money in the long term. So it's perfectly fine to have like two characters that do 20 Abzo, one that does 17 Abzo because it's going to go into Arcanes, two that skip Abzo and go straight into 17 Arcane maybe and just stay there, and then because eventually they'll go to 19, eventually go to 21. Yeah, different characters can also need different funding, right? So there's like definitely some base funding that you could do like that, like I just mentioned. And for some characters that'll be way enough and they'll already be fine, and some characters just need more, and then, you know, maybe you just push the matrix a little bit more, you do dailies a little bit longer. For dailies I usually went like level like 11 to 12 I think on most of them. Something like that. And I think the one for me that's still the closest to that level of funding is probably... It's the one that I stopped because I had the Ho Young. And that's the other thing, is if you fund the characters a little bit more organically like that as well, if you start feeling like you really don't like a character or it's just a little bit too much, then it's also easier to abandon it because you didn't just drop like 20 bill into it, right? And you feel like you need to get that money back. So that's why I like to start early, do it more organically, more evenly, and also you can be like, oh, I have some time left over. Oh, Identisk Island, hello. I have some time left over in the week, I can definitely add another character, versus I'm going to do 6 characters, I'm going to spend 15 bill in each, I'm going to drop 90 bill, and oh, now I don't like 2 of those characters. Fuck, well, I have to play them now for at least like the next 4 months, otherwise I don't get my money back. And then every week you're like, oh, fuck this character. It sucks a little bit though, because the character hit like 9% attack for 80 boss on the secondary. Damn.
Yeah,
which is pretty nice. It's got like a fake Abzo. That also helped. There were some items, some events where there were like a lot of fake Abzo labs. So I put these through my characters as well. But yeah, this one has already received more funding as well because of the cubes. Because then what happens is I get so many cubes, I just start going back to the 9% items and I get them up to 12%. And then if they're all done, I get them up to 15%. So now my full page, all the items are all unique with all 15%. But they came from like 6 or 9% to there, all with just free cubes. So there was 0 mesos, or just a reveal cost, I guess. This guy is, oh, is 18k stat here? Probably has a shitty ring on. Yeah, so I'll probably have this. And this is like very easy Lotus Damien on this guy. Like 18.9k without the Maple Warrior and everything. So yeah, that's a fake. Go away. That's a fake Arcane. So yeah, I was just aiming for tier 6, but I hit tier 6 attack with tier 6 boss damage, of course, very nice. Definitely above where you'd want. 8% or something damage is probably more than fine. And then yeah, luck and attack and IED, right? So it's about a 2-line, maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, depending on how you look at it. But all 3 lines are doing something, so that was good enough. And then, so the other thing is, since I hit this secondary, some people will be like, oh, this character needs to be decked out now. For me, it's like, oh, I hit this secondary. That means I can go a little bit lower in the emblem and be fine. because it'll compensate, you know? So I take my wins where I can, because you can always come back if you want to, and if you're going to push this character harder, I can always come back and make it better, but I don't have to right now. And that's the main purpose of a bossing mule. You want it to come online as soon as possible, as cheaply as possible, and start generating that income. And then if you want to push it later, you can always do that. So I got Tyrant Cape. This probably had like 9% on it, but, you know, eventually got up to unique and up to 12. Wondroid Heart, that's, you know, I have some legacy stuff here and there, so that helps. And this is one of those gloves that went that way, so this was probably a Necro glove. This is my old Necro shoe, right? So 9%, okay flame on it. And then, or a pretty good flame, actually. It's like 82 flame scores, like most people's CRA score, I guess. And then for shoe, because I was doing it for so long, I was able to buy the shoe with the coins from HMAG instead. So then I was like, now I can skip the Cygnus shoe. Because, you know, the base stats are just ridiculous, right? So 50 all stat, 30 weapon and magic attack, and flame advantage. You get an okay flame on it. It's really hard to replace. You'd have to have full Abso. So this, and this flame's like slowly walked up as well. Don't look at my top flame. This is not the not the goal for every Xenon is like, what the hell is that? And every archer as well, probably. But yeah, the more bossing mules you make, the more crazy stuff like that will end up popping up. But all of these went up to like 12 when, yeah, these were all 9 for a long time. And then Mechanator, yeah, you see Mechanator and Chaos Horntail. You don't really expect that, but it's 2 pieces of the boss accessory set, right? So you can go for 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 set. So you get the full set bonus out of that. That helps. Some event rings here and there. Start spreading those over your characters as well, because your main character stops needing those pretty quickly. Oh, I don't have totems here yet. The cup is 7 all stat and 5 attack, no stat whatsoever, but that's still good enough, right? That's the 45 plus mark for flame easily. This is like an 85 if you use the late calculator, closer to 80 if you use the earlier one. 2 slots, 2 IED fams somewhere here, there. That's. Yeah, these 2 guys. And then the Matrix probably got a lot more love as I went on. But early on, and you mean CRA is probably only up to like 100 flames. You want to include like the next 2 bosses, goes probably up, sorry, not flames, nodes. Goes up to like 200 for the next one. And if you're doing Lotus and Damien in total, you could probably do that with like 350 nodes. It's probably very doable. Some classes, you know, class diff, but you see here the skill nodes are like between level 5 and level 9, and the boost nodes got a lot more love here, up to 20, but if those are like 8, 9 or something, you can already do a lot of stuff with the character for sure.
Yeah.
But this one is, yeah, probably the closest to like a reasonable level of funding. Maybe my Demon Slayer is a little closer. Demon Slayer was also one that I was, you know, kind of like tinkering with, like, do I want to, you know, was like on the edge, but then I ended up not going for it. Where is that guy here?
Yeah, that's one thing I realized as well, just taking enjoyability into account, because I was just looking like, oh, best boss mules to make, and it's like, oh, Marksman, Dawn Warriors, like super easy tri-nodes, and then but like I find the classes kind of boring.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people like boring though for bossing mules, right? Like you don't have to learn the whole character, you just press button and boss dies. That's what a lot of people want out of their bossing mules, but that might not be, because while they're not doing that, they're doing the grinding, and that's their main goal, right? But if you're not really wanting to grind, and you're okay with bossing on the character and maybe doing some more difficult bosses, some more challenging ones, and that's where you get more of your enjoyment out of, then it's way more important what type of bosses you have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad example. 21% unique ring, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
And then this one, probably like those event only ring cubes, right? Like those will end up on a character like this, and then you end up getting a legendary here and there. Oh, this one still has 11-star CRA. Yeah, see, so this one never really got that final upgrade. 12%, 15%. This thing doesn't even have potential, apparently. Oh, this was from before the second pendant slot was permanent. So this one probably didn't even have a second pendant. Yeah, and then again, like a fake weapon. This one got a superior belt for some reason, but doesn't synergize with anything else. So lost the set bonus because of that, so I don't even know if it's worth it. And this one went more into the Cygnus, as you see. So this one doesn't even have... I might have a Tyrant? Oh yeah, I do have a Tyrant belt, so I switch into that. But then I wear this one because gives me more Star Force, which gives me more Legion raid power, so I can generate more coins when I'm offline. But you can see, oh, I have a Papulatus mark at 16 and a monocle, so I was probably trying to transpose on this guy, and then mid doing that was like, yeah, I'm not going to continue this character. So I probably have some... I've got 171 dineros, and then you can probably also see my boat here. So my boat is level 10, but I never bought the upgrade, so I was still in the rank 1 boat. But should be the same here. You got the ID fams. And probably some Golux coins, 165. Yeah, super slow process by ACI. He's getting those backups just in case, you know, just holding on to things. And then probably, yeah, 80 flame score on this one. And then decided to switch over and then open to 52 and 6 later. And then just keeping it just to feel bad about it, I guess. I don't know. Shoes got 52. And as long as it's like around where you wouldn't expect the Necro Flame to be, then it's a good hold. Lionheart Battle Shoulder. That gives me 4 set. I might have been 6 set on this at some point before getting to CRA, because the 6 set is really nice. It's 30 attack and 30 boss. But of course, as soon as that set goes away, it's kind of trash. You see 4 set is 15 attack. That's like the only one that really gives anything worth under 6 set, so... Yeah, that's when Tyrant comes in, right? This guy probably... Yeah, I have 72 coins. So if I were to play this again, I would immediately buy the shoes. Boom, replace the shoes. Replace the cape. Go back for trying to transpose this. Because I have access to it. And that would be my next round of funding. And I'd probably work on CRA to 19. Badge to 17. Like that kind of stuff. And then work on Superior Golux. And then this guy's pretty much completely set up to be... easy Lotus and Damien. Probably can already do Lotus and Damien. Yeah, so for this guy, you see not nearly as many nodes. More focused on Demon Awakening, right? Because that's a very important skill for demons. And then everything else is kind of just opened whatever I get, and otherwise just neglect it. But this guy's probably like, yeah, something like 200 to 300 nodes around that point. But yeah, maybe consider an extra Adele here and there if you get like a Terra Burn and there's nothing else your Legion could really benefit from.
Yeah, I mean for Adele, like I know the class, but like I also don't find it particularly enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah. But are you maining it now because you're in so deep, or are you hoping it becomes more fun once it gets stronger?
Well, it's my first class. Like I do like the aerial mobility and bosses like Black Mage.
Floating.
So, yeah,
jumping
like
into another float.
Yeah, doing all that.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. Yeah.
So it's like that's pretty cool. But no, I think Ilium's like the first class I've been like, oh shit, this is like pretty fun.
Okay. Yeah, a bit more going on, but I think they're super undervalued as classes as what they can do. But they do require
wide eye frame.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's probably the class with the worst release ever. So they got a really bad. Yeah, it was garbage. Like, if you were just floating on release, you had like a 30% chance of your client disconnecting. So that immediately took like the entire... Yeah. And you were just so squishy. You still are kind of now, right? In the beginning, probably one of the squishier characters. But back then, those combos that you had to build, like your extra attack speed, for example, was linked to the highest number combo, or like the highest amount of stacks over your head. So every single time you got hit by something, you dropped the stack, you dropped your attack speed again, and then you had to get it back and then lose it again, and then until they made it passive. That was really stupid as well. And yeah, between the crashing and the squishiness, a lot of people were like, what is this trash class? So it just got a really bad launch. And I think because of that, it had to fight an uphill battle on trying to get noticed the whole time. But yeah, I see some crazy Ilium gameplay sometime. But yeah, who knows? You know, once you park this guy into, you know, in like liberating waiting room, into pitch waiting room, and into eternal waiting room, there's a lot of time there where you have to kind of decide, like, you know, do I just take the daily EXP here and then give some love to another character instead? Yeah. A lot of people feel like they want to keep those dopamine hits of getting progress, and it gets increasingly difficult on their main, and then some other character props up and be like, oh my god, this pasture has some really nice green grass too, and then yeah, that other character gets some more love, and then you you realize what it feels like again to actually succeed in Star Forcing and to roll a potential that can actually be better than the previous one, you know. Because after a certain point, that becomes really tricky to do.
Yeah, there's definitely like some type of, I don't know, like desire sensor. Like on my Ilium, I'll get like 3-line strength, but
Only
like on my
strength.
Adele, I get like 3-line int, and it's like,
Only
wait,
int.
what?
Yeah, all the time. Imagine if you were in the interactive server and you could just trade those items. Ugh.
Oh yeah.
Like for the worst example for me is my arc has double crit damage and then a 12%, now 13% HP line as the third line, and my Demon Avenger has double crit damage and line strength for the third line. It's like,
if you could just switch those, yeah.
Yeah, oh, but if you looked at the calculation, right? It's like 55 bill to roll that, so that's like 110 bill in value. That's just missing because I can't trade them over. So, and they're, yeah, but you know, one is a warrior glove, the other one's a pirate glove, so it wouldn't work. But yeah, it just, so annoying. You're like so close yet so far away. But yeah, well, definitely, yeah. If you're working on mules, like the mages roll all the strength in the world, and then you go on your strength characters and you can just roll nothing but int. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
all right, I got some good notes here. I don't know if we have anything left to go over. I think you pretty much answered all my questions.
Yeah, inability
like,
looks
if
good.
you have any like,
save up for summer.
if you have any Rex, yeah.
Yeah. What were you doing at the backups? Spare. See if there's anything. Yeah, you probably have a little bit too many belts at this point. You would probably start getting rid of some.
I got rid of a row actually recently.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's where all the arcanes went, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once it starts becoming a problem, like you can't pick up stuff anymore, then you could just look at what I have too many of. And until you get to that point, because you want to make sure that you can get all of the kind of treasure rings as well that you get access to, right? So, and maybe some more dominators once you start doing maybe some daybreaks, right? You have one?
One spare, yeah.
Yeah. One more of those will, one spare. Oh, wait, you're using one?
Oh yeah, drop gear.
Drop gear, yeah, gotcha. Yeah. No, yeah, other than that, I guess the Abzo can go if you really need room, right? That's not really gonna... That's like a nostalgia hold. I respect it, though. I feel that, too. These Stellar Earrings? Yeah, that's, you know, if you want to make higher Star Force drop rate gear, that's one. There's technically a situation where you can go, like, half-pitched, half-4-set Daybreak kind of thing to get out of Superior. But you'd have to have like 22 Estelles, 22 Lucid Belt. Like it's a pretty niche situation that you happen to have exactly those pieces. So as soon as you have like the Star Force amount on that earring that you want, you can pretty much get rid of it. I like the faster you get pitched, the faster you'll be able to just turn your
Golux.
Yeah, Golux into your strong hybrid gear. But if that takes longer, then you might have to make other pieces to keep up the kill speed. But that's also why a lot of people kind of take a foot off the gas either at 275 or at 280, just because the next 5 levels take so long, versus your whole account or another character maybe wanting a little bit more love, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, the same person that tells me like to Star Force is like, yeah, no, 285 is the new 275, and it's like, I'm not fucking grinding that.
It does move though. That is true. It does move up. But if you become more of a daily
like
gamer,
unlock all the content.
Yeah, and the extra symbol, right? Like if you want to keep up with the bosses that come out, and you want to have the Sacred Power. Sacred Power is not super crazy peaky. Like the highest one is for Extreme Culling is 480, so it's not like at 530 you're already doing bonus damage there. So like full bonus. So that's not too crazy, honestly. And by the time you get to you're going to get to that Sacred Power before you get to that boss, basically, at this current rate anyway. So, as long as you keep up with the dailies, you're good. Yeah, no, I don't think I saw anything super crazy. Yeah, you have the secondary, right? So, secondary, you have the benefit of being able to roll a second one on the side with glowings, and you don't have to deal with brights. Yeah, you're already doing that. That's good. Yeah, once you hit that roar, the big weapon jump, you'll see a huge increase in like culvert and that kind of stuff. That'll be nice.
Yeah, con was a pretty good increase, but yeah, I'm really hoping for that roar.
Yeah, con is nice if you're just doing a bunch of boss. I mean, the culvert, it's much easier to commit your noble summons in your bloom plus your ruin completely, right? So the Kant really helps a lot with that. But in a lot of boss fights, bosses like to just teleport out of the way out of those skills every single time. So
yeah, it's hard to time.
and then and then you miss all of your DPM essentially, and then you just become a 3-minute burster more than a sustained damage character, sadly. These flames look good. Yeah, Berserk is just, if you hit that early, but yeah, don't try to not use that one as a crutch and be okay with letting it go if another, or risking it, right, if another upgrade allows you to.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But yeah, if there's any other things that come up from this, or you check out some of the commands or anything and you find something that you have questions about, feel free to let me know.
Alright, man.
Okay. Well, good luck with everything. May all of your Star Force
thank you.
succeed next week.
I hope so. I think I'm just gonna try to focus on the superior belt and the earrings for the next event.
Yeah, it's good to set like 2 goals that are pretty much like brain dead, but that at least, that's what you put most of your hope into. And then you can always do more if you have money left. But yeah, and you don't have to zero out any event, right? There's possibly coming a cube sale somewhere in May, right? So if you have the desire at that point to like double crit damage your gloves, for example, that could be a good time to do that. Or doom roll a whole bunch of stuff on a secondary, see if you can hit some attack, or like a boss with 2-line attacks, something like that. That could be really nice too. And then yeah, Emblem, even though it's the best 1 to 3-line for a long time, it tends to get pushed back once Saren. But yeah, let me know how it goes with trying Saren and Kalos. If you get your easy Kalos, if you get those under your belt, I think Saren is definitely still spicy. You need to learn it quite a bit, but it's a lot faster and easier to learn than Black Mage. And then Kalos, if you have enough damage, is just not even a boss, honestly. It's just like it's like you're doing Will P1 kind of with like a full party. It's basically what it feels like. Like you just kill both sides, do the test, kill both sides, do the test. That's really what it is. All right.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. See you around, and yeah, best of luck.
Alright, good luck on your MP and what else? Oh, the Ursus.
And Ursus, yeah, I hope we succeed this time. It was a rough runs last time.
Alright, man. Have a good one.
Alright, thank you. Bye. Alright. So, for people who are maybe in similar situations, hopefully that was helpful for you, kind of going into a deep dive in the beginning on, calculators and how can they help you in terms of determining what is high risk, what is low risk, where you want to spend your money, that kind of thing. Looking at backups, building backups, getting your... Thank God all of his drop rate and all that stuff is already in order. If you don't have that yet, make sure you work on drop rate, meso obtain, right? You can see it in the progression grid here as well. It's very high up on the list, getting your meso obtain and drop rate percentages up in your gear. Very important. He was working on the familiar already. He already got 2 levels in Limina. Still doesn't have his large drop. Make sure you go for that as well. Exclamation mark drop rate will help with determining that. And if you're trying to get EXP, exclamation mark EXP has a breakdown of how all of those things stack and how you can get extra sources for you. And yeah, looking more at like bossing mule advice. So if you're trying to, if you like farming a lot, use that to make your money and bossing mules small percentage of the time, and look for very simple and fast, easy to fund bossing mules. And if you love, oh, meanwhile he's gifting more subs. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate all the support. Thank you. And if you don't like the grinding that much, more of a daily gamer, maybe do half an hour to like 45 to like an hour a day max. Then look at those boss mules to get your average income up, so that with all the backups that you're earning, you can also make the money for it, put them together during events, and get those guaranteed upgrades. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you need any of these commands, you can use them over at my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Scardor. Just type exclamation mark and then a topic in the chat, or use exclamation mark info, and you'll get a screen with all of the possible commands that I have access to that you can use in a chat. You can even use them when I'm offline. Although I'm online a lot because I stream every single day over there, so feel free to drop by and ask any questions you might have, or just chat about literally anything you want. Very open, communicating about any topic that we want to talk about, as long as it, abides by TOS and that kind of stuff. If not, I'll just see you here for the next video, or click one of these on there should be one on the screen maybe from the playlist. Maybe get more information for free. If you want one of these sessions, You can buy these sessions. You can buy my time. Check the description of the video or use !coaching over at Twitch. Or you can also save for these sessions by watching my stream while I'm streaming. And if you're subscribed over at Twitch, that's much cheaper. Or you could leave a comment saying that you would like to win one of these, and I will pick 2 lucky winners at the end of the month. So that could be you. Just leave a comment saying you would like to win. Please include your Discord name so I can reach out to you over there. And then I will potentially reach out to you. So yeah, either see you over at Twitch or see you in the next video. Bye.